Here we go. So sorry for waiting, but I just didn't have any controls. All right. Well, welcome everyone to All Aboard for Computer Science Success with Lego Education Coding Express. So, Sonya, I believe, has done such a sweet job. She's already gone through and introduced herself, I believe. But Sonya, do you feel like you've introduced yourself correctly, or do you want to do that now that we have our
I'll be glad to. Good
Sure.
morning, everyone. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited about CS Success, Lego Education, with our Coding Express. I am the Georgia rep for this marvelous state, and I am so excited to be able to serve in any way possible. Please never hesitate to reach out. I see some of my good friends on. Kristen Luthi, I see, is here from Gwinnett, which is truly one of my favorite people, and definitely a fantastic partnership that we have with the district. So just want to say thank you to all that are joining, and I look forward to working with you.
Great. Sure. And I love working with Sonya. My name is Kelly Reddin, and I am a global master trainer and solutions architect. And I have the pleasure of working with Sonya when we go into districts and we create implementation plans. So I would like to continue and ask you a question. And that is, how familiar are you with Lego Education? If you would just type into the chat, magenta, if you like, oh, I know all about Lego Education. Yellow, if I know a little bit about Lego Education. And blue, if I know Lego retail, that's the Harry Potter and the Star Wars and stuff, but not really Lego Education. So I see we have some magenta, we have some blue. Great. All right. And between yellow, okay. Magenta-ish. Oh, I love it. Okay. Well, I just wanted to find out, because if everyone was in blue, then I would go into a little more detail. But I am going to go just and tell you just the littlest bit. Lego Education has been around since 1980, but it didn't come to the United States first. So the company, the Lego Group, is a Danish company. So our home office is in Billund, Denmark, and the company, the big Lego group, started in education when some teachers came to Mr. Christensen, who is the owner, and said, the kids are so engaged at home with your products, with the toys they play with. Can't we do something to help kids learn in this hands-on way at school? And so that is how the whole education department came about. And we are thrilled that they did that, because we now have a lot of former teachers working for the company. And myself, I'm one of them. I taught elementary and middle school for many, many years. And we also, when we create our products and our curriculum, teachers are the ones who are doing that, former teachers. And then we go out and do beta testing in regular classrooms with teachers and real kids, not models. So I wanted to just let you know that from the beginning. All right, we're going to move forward. And the first thing I want to say is, one of the underpinnings of the Lego group and Lego education is learning through play. And we'd say, well, why play? Because when you think back, how did you start to learn? Through play. You were able to do things like learn about the world around you through exploration. And so we want to set the scene of why we think play is so important. So what I'd like you to do is think about your earliest or some of your earlier recollections of play. What was it that you were doing when you say, oh, we used to play when we were kids? Well, what did you play? So if you'd put some of that into the chat, then I will continue on. But I want to give you a chance to just think about some of the earliest recollections of play. So let's see what you come up with.
push
The swing
here.
set, absolutely. Blocks, okay. We combined rules to make different games. Yes. All right. And they were playing a lot outside. I think that's true of a lot of people who are adults now. And I wonder if we talk to children today, if we would find that they spend as much time outside as we did when we were growing up. And then it says, I used to play with my friends outside, again, outside hide and seek. Oh, yes, I did a ton of that.
Me
And
too.
played with my brother's science kit and their Legos beside their outside games. Yes. Used your imagination. Absolutely. Oh, Hot Wheels cars. Oh, yeah. I had some of those. Board games and blocks,
Barbie.
hopscotch, hide and seek. We jumped rope forever and ever. I had strong legs back then. Small action figures, arts and crafts. Oh, yeah. Barbie and Little
Barbie.
Pony
Oh,
and
yes.
playing pretend. So, and I think that is wonderful. So here is what I want you now to think about what you just typed in your chat. And then let's talk about the 5 characteristics of play, which is a model that was developed by the Lego Foundation. It's joyful. We have a good time when we're playing. We're having fun, and it's meaningful to us at the time. Now, when we say meaningful to us, some of the things you were talking about as well, we were making up our own rules. We were negotiating with other people on what the rules were going to be and how we were going to enforce those rules. It was engaging. When we were playing, I happened to have a big jungle gym in my backyard, and everybody came over to our yard, and that jungle gym became everything. It was a spaceship, it was a castle, it was a fort, it was everything. And when we did that, we all played different roles, and we had to negotiate the roles. Everybody couldn't be in charge. Everybody couldn't be the captain or the hero or whatever. Somebody had to do supporting roles. And we were totally engaged. In fact, when somebody called when a parent came out and said, you got to come in for lunch, we may or may not have heard it all the time. And it was iterative. We had to try things over and over. Sometimes we tried the same thing to see if we got the same result. Sometimes we tried a little something different. And socially interactive. And that's something that you all were talking about. We played with someone else. So when we look at those, and then we look at the holistic approach, meaning all about the child, we have physical skills, creative skills, social skills, emotional and cognitive skills. So when you put that in the context of Lego education, we're helping them with spatial understanding. They are given a lot of opportunity to create their own ideas and make models that represent them. They have to collaborate and communicate. They have to negotiate, taking turns and handling conflicts. They have to build up that self-control so that they are in charge of themselves and doing some reflection and learning perseverance through problem solving and that flexible thinking. And then I want to give you this question to kind of frame the rest of the day. And that is, how can we remove barriers to learning and simultaneously build the skills that kids need? Okay. So, what do we do to remove the barriers and build up those kids? So, we're going to do that through the lens of computer science. And so, what again I'm going to ask you to do is just put a couple things in the chat. But when you hear computer science, what do you think about? Okay. What words come to mind? So I'm going to give you a little time to type in. Using technology to create solutions. Absolutely.
Collaboration, for sure.
Collaboration, problem solving. For sure. Do we think about coding? It's part of it. But I'm so glad to see that problem solving. Fun, coding, collaboration, problem solving. Oh, I'm loving this. So I'm going to go ahead. You can keep writing things in. I'm going to go ahead and go on. But I want to look at how Georgia defines computer science because I think that's critical for you. It's the study of computers and algorithmic processes. And when I come to that word, so many people go, oh, this is where it becomes hard. Well, wait, an algorithm is a step-by-step process. So it's not necessarily, something that is crazy hard math with, we all have to take out our calc book. That's not it. It's a step-by-step process. And including the principles of computer science, hardware. Okay, that's your computer, but it also can be a model, and software designs, their implementation, meaning how are we going to use them? And then what's that impact on society? And then how do we do this then? We blend the concepts together and the practices. So what kids know and what they do. And then it should be integrated, because if we're just teaching computer science separated from anything else, it's like saying, okay, and we do this sometimes. Okay, I'm going to teach you math, but I'm not going to teach you any application for it. You're just going to remember your times tables. You're never going to know when you have to multiply. So we don't want to do it that way. When I think of computer science, I always think of Seymour Papert, who was at MIT, and he created this little image that you see here, which was that a computer science program should have a low floor, meaning it's really easy to get started, both for the student and for the teacher. But it should have a high ceiling, meaning that no matter where you're coming in, it can find your a way for you to learn more and get more increasingly difficult projects that you can do and learn more and more. And it needs to have wide walls because all kinds of people have different interests and their learning styles might be different, and we need to keep everyone engaged. And so this is what Seymour Papert said that any good computer science program should have. But I will tell you, I take it further. I really believe that's any educational program, anything. Because if we can't meet kids where they are developmentally when they walk in the door, then the floor is not where it needs to be. And if we can't, and if they quickly get to a spot where, oh, I've got this, I'm bored, then the ceiling isn't high enough. And if you've got a lot of kids who are saying, well, that's great, but it doesn't pertain to me, then our wide walls are pretty narrow. They're not really wide. So where we want to go is we want to build learning for all students. All students. So how do we do that? And your question to me should be, well, that's great, Kelly, but how can I get started doing this? So Coding Express has a way that you can physically see and physically do linear programming, looping, and switches, which are conditionals. And I put this little picture up here. This is something that comes in the set, and it's a paper that shows, number one, you can see how the track can be configured so it goes in just a line. It could be a straight line or a crooked line, but it's still a line. And that's our linear sequencing. First it does this, then it does that, so A, B, C, D, E kind of thing. Or I can make it into a loop. And you can see here, this is actually number 2 is a loop with a switch to make it either a bigger or a smaller loop included, but you could just leave it as a loop. And then 3, we have just switches. So what are we able to physically see? Physically able to see a sequence, physically able to see a loop or something that repeats over and over in a pattern. And then we also are seeing a switch, and a switch is a conditional. Now, when we're talking little kids, we're not going to say conditional, but we can say switch. And when we teach them switch, we're going to teach them the wordings of, if I do this, then this happens, which becomes that conditional if-then statement later when we're programming. So beyond that, which there is nothing out there, there is no other product that does that, by the way. And I just am so thrilled with this, because we can really get kids to feel comfortable with those words: loop, switch, sequence. They can learn those. If they can say Tyrannosaurus Rex, they can say, sequence, loop, switch. And so we need to teach them the meaning, and we teach them the meaning by doing. That way, when they get older and they're going to do more programming with blocks or text, and they come to something that is a switch, becomes a conditional, they don't go, oh my gosh, this is so hard, because that's what I have gotten when I am teaching middle school and it's their first time to ever program. And you say, we're going to put a switch inside a loop. They freak out. They now think it is too hard. But if we have taught them earlier what a switch and a loop is, when I say that in middle school, they go, I got this. This is no big deal. That means we're going to have a choice inside a loop, and it's going to determine which loop we go in. That they don't freak out. So how does it work? Well, we have a little train, and on the engine, if you see the underneath side of the train here, there's a little light, and it is a color sensor. So we turn on the train, we turn on the color sensor, and then it goes over these little tags. And what are these tags? They are like cause and effect, right? Which is another something that we need to teach with these youngers. We need to teach cause and effect. If I run over the red tag, my engine stops. If I run over the green tag, then my engine changes direction and it goes the other direction. When I run over that blue, it refuels and it goes glug, 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 like it's refueling. Then the white makes it turn the light on or off, because you can see at the front of this, there's a little white light. And then there's sound, and it makes the choo-choo train sound. Woo, woo. So how does it work? Well, you put those little tags right over the train track, and then you just give your engine a little push, and it goes and it starts reacting to all of the tags that it finds. So, all right, that's the basic how does it work. Now let's look. All right, you can see that there are some tags here, and when it gets to those tags, then it would continue to go in a, like if it's the green one, then it turns and goes the other direction. So we have red and yellow and blue. And so how could we use this loop? Well, there are lots of stories, especially for kindergartners and first graders, that have a repeat. That whole repeating language, so that they say a section over and over and over again, or songs, or even some little actions like head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We're doing the same action over and over and over again. That's a repeat. That's our loop. Then we have conditionals, or those switches. So again, now granted, there's a tree in the path right here. So we'd have to take the tree and clear it out. But when I come to the first switch, if I go to the right, then I come to the water where you can fish or take a boat. If I go to the left, the next thing I have is another switch. I have another decision to make. I have another choice. And these are words that we're going to use and increase the vocabulary of the kids. If I go to the left, I go to the airport. If I choose to go to the right, then I go to the castle. And if you can see just from this picture, can you imagine the storytelling that you can do? So this can be integrated right into ELA. And we even have some programs within this, the lesson plans that are for math and counting to 10 or fewer and going backwards, counting backwards. All right. So one of the stories that I really love to use is a book that is by Aaron Becker called Journeys. And it's about a little girl who has a magic marker kind of thing. It's kind of like if you think the purple crayon, but it's really a marker. And she draws a door. She's bored out of her mind. She draws a door in her bedroom into the land of imagination. And she goes in and she explores the world around her. And when she finds something that she needs, she draws it and then she moves on. So she finds a river, she draws a boat, she gets in it, and then she's on her way on this journey. And she gets into trouble and she gets out of trouble through the marker. Okay. And when we finish the story, I ask the kids, what kind of things did this young lady see on her journey? And they can tell me. And I said, do you think you could build those things? And they're like, absolutely. And so they could build their story of the journey, and then they can build their own stories and talk about journeys they would take. So we're mixing the language arts and the computer science together because they have to figure out, how am I going to put those little colored tabs in to make the engine do what I want? Because I have to slow down or come to a stop, or if I'm going to have these activities on my journey. So to help the kids kind of think through those journeys, we give them what we call building inspiration cards. These are not step-by-step instructions. They are, hey, think about this. Here's an airport. There's refueling. There's the stop for the train. I can take a picnic. Oh my goodness, what happens when there's something in the way of the train on the tracks? What do we do? Then there's another one that has some different scenes. Oh, different time of year and different trains. And these are not the only two trains you can make. These are the inspirations, because depending on where you live, you may see more like a subway train. Okay. When I fly to Atlanta, I get on the MARTA. It looks more like this, the top one, than it does the bottom one. But when I'm somewhere else, I might be taking a train from point A to point B that's outside. Okay. All right. That is a quick looking at the Coding Express, but I want to tell you one more little thing, and then we're gonna talk about some other parts of Lego education as well. I'm telling you, I think that I had the coolest idea from a teacher just like yourself. She was a kindergarten teacher who talked to me and said, Kelly, I used to go through so many little people. I love the Lego education products. We use them in my kindergarten class. But every year I lost people and I would have to rebuy every year, because whatever came in the set, somebody had to take them home with them. They just couldn't not. And then she said, I bought a couple sets of people, and the first week of class, I let everyone choose their, quote, little buddy. All right. So they all had a specific little buddy. And they use their little buddy to read to do math. If we were using Coding Express, I want my little buddy on the train, or I want my little buddy in the picnic, or I want my little buddy fixing the track. I mean, it depends on what the child wanted to do, but to be engaging, they use their own little buddy. And at the end of the day, she had a place where all the little buddies lived. So the kids would come in the morning, they would go to that spot, pick up their little buddy. Yes, they could put it in their pocket. When they left the class to go to lunch or a special, they had to leave their little buddy on their desk to wait for him to come back. And then when they'd come back, they'd get him their little buddy again. At the end of the day, they all put them back together where she could see them all. And if one was missing, she'd say, "Oh no, there's a little buddy missing. They're so sad because their friend is missing." Then somebody would go, "Oh yeah, it's mine," and put it back. She said from that point on, she never lost one because they knew they had their own little buddy and they used them throughout the school day. So I just wanted to kind of sneak that one in there with you because it does go with the whole Coding Express, because they can use them right with the set itself, and they can be the engineer if that's what they want. They can drive the train. All right. Now, the other thing that gets asked about Coding Express is how many kids can really utilize that? And my answer is 3 to 4. In the brochure, it's going to tell you 6. And I just having watched students working together, I'm going to tell you 3 to 4 is really the best. So when you know that you're going to use one of our products, or even if you don't have it yet, one of the things that I want to tell you is that we have professional development to help you get started so that you feel confident walking into the classroom and saying, we're going to utilize this solution to meet these needs of the students, because we want all kids to be successful with those very beginning computer science skills. I may not be super comfortable with them yet, so I need a little of that professional development, the in-person, and then I have some self-guided as well. So what I'd like, and I'm going to put this into the chat, but I would like everyone to go into this site, pd@legoeducation.com, and I will show you what it looks like. So I'm going to change my screen. And I want to bring up that. So where did it go? It's not showing. Okay, let's try that. All right. So when you go in, if you're getting an error message, oh dear, it may be that you need to use a different browser, but it should work from every browser. I'm going to show you, if you can get in, where you would go, and I will help you as best I can. So let's see. Has anyone else been able to get in? So maybe we should do this.
Looks like Diane is in, Kelly.
Okay. Let's try that one. Perhaps that one works better. So once we get in, if you will go to Lego Education Learning Resources Room. So I'm holding this here, and I'll type that in as well. Lego education learning resources resource room. So now I'm going to go in there. I've got the wheel of hope again, so we hope that it is it's going to come in. And I'm going to say learning with Lego education. So we're going to go into learning with Lego education. Okay, so I've got that there. And then you can see that these are very short. They're 5 minutes apiece. But I would highly recommend that you look at those, and it's going to help you, because we talk about the learning through play. That is regardless of whether it's you're using a Lego brick or not. And the 5 E's. If you are using 5E lessons, it doesn't matter whether it's with Lego education products. Okay. So I don't think that that is an issue. And then we have the competency-based framework, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But I wanted to get you in and have you be able to see that you have these resources. They are free. There are other things in here that you could utilize to help, but I just wanted you to go in and see what's available. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, because hopefully you are getting close to being there. And I'm going to go back and share in my other screen. So now we have these courses that you can take. And what are they going to be? They're going to be 4 things. 21st century skills. How do you get in and really get kids collaborating? And one of the things that I think you're going to find if you look through some of the resources in the online self-guided professional learning is that I know when I was teaching, I rarely in the years that I taught had the ability to go in and watch another teacher teach and do a reflection with that teacher. I mean, it was rare. So you can go in and watch a real teacher with a real classroom. It is not a setup. It is actual teachers teaching real kids, both in the classroom and virtually. And you can watch them, and they will reflect on what happened, and you can reflect with them. And I think that is such a boon, because, like I said, in the years that I taught, rarely did I get that. And I know I would have benefited by watching someone else in the craft, right? But I rarely got that. And what else am I going to be able to do? The pedagogy, the classroom management, the STEAM concepts. So what we know is that if I understand the concepts, and if I understand the pedagogy, and if I know how to manage the manipulatives, because we're all going to use hands-on, whether it's Lego education or something else. But when I do that, I know that my kids are going to be able to get the most from those lessons, because I have this rich confidence in myself and in what I know, and in a way that I can deliver it so that kids can really get deep learning. So it's really important for everyone to have that whole piece, not just, or I should say the whole pie, not just a piece of it, but the whole thing. So in our professional development, between the in-person facilitated and the self-guided learning, you're going to get the whole pie. And that's really nice is that we have some competency-based courses so that you can go in and earn micro-credentials even. So those are not all free. Those come with the, in-person facilitated. What's free is the self-guided learning, but it's in combination. To get the most from it, it's in combination. It's not one or the other, it's both. And so there is one other little piece to the pie, and that is that we have a community. And that's the Lego education community, which is a group of teachers from all around the world. And you will find some people who are using Coding Express, and they can tell you some successes they've had. You may see questions that people have asked where other teachers have responded, best practices. Oh, I had difficulty with this. What happened? And they can help you find some inspiration for trying something new, give you ideas. And you can connect, because one of the things that happens sometimes is that we feel like we're in a little vacuum. We're in our classroom with our kids, and we don't really know what's going on around us, but we can connect with peers. We can connect with Lego master trainers master educators on this site and get help if we need it, or say, I had a great day, I had a great activity, I want to share it. So it works that you can give and that you can get from that community. So again, community at legoeducation.com. It's free. You join, and you don't have to get a lot of messages. You can just choose when you want to get into it. So going from there, what I would like to do is thank you and then ask, do you have any questions? So I have one question in the chat right now, and that is there a way for us to receive a kit so we can try it? So Sonya, I'm gonna reach out to you for that.
Hello there. Actually, we can work on doing something along those lines. Historically, we will allow a kit that you could utilize for about a week or so, and we will have to just connect on those details.
So Sonya's information is up on screen right now. And so if you are interested in looking at that, just right now, go ahead and you can contact her via
Please feel free
email.
to do so. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll be glad to assist.
So I'm going to go ahead and put into the chat, even though it's on screen, her email address.
Thank you, Kelly.
You betcha. Do you have any questions on how you could put Coding Express as that beginning stepping stone into computer science, into your school, so that you start the curriculum pathway right here in kindergarten and first grade?
Terry, actually, my colleague is in the Los Angeles area. I'm going to put her information for you in the chat.
And I'd like to thank Leanna for jumping in on that chat and helping with the PD information. So, Sonya, do you want to talk to the question about, are there discounted prices for sets purchased for classrooms or not-for-profits?
Yes. Okay. So there are not currently discounts for nonprofits. That's actually a different division that would assist with nonprofit. But I'd be glad to coordinate that with you, Annie. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be glad to coordinate that with you, but there is a separate colleague that does handle nonprofits for us. Any other questions? Thoughts?
Do you think it looks
hey there,
great?
Michelle. Hey, Michelle. I just talked to Michelle the other day, so it's good to hear. Glad you're on. Let's see. Yes. Do you suggest using this in pre-K or do you have something else? Yes, absolutely. It's perfect for pre-K and first grade, Michelle.
Yeah, pre-K, K first.
Yes.
And really, if they have had an experience, what we would do is start, maybe first grade at the very beginning of the year with this, and then move on from there to something different that they're ready to jump up now. And we do have more products beyond this, but we're focused on that computer science today, and so that's why we are using Coding Express. Leanna, would you like to add anything?
Hello there, Leanna.
Hey, so yeah, just jumping on. I was reading the chat. Great questions. One of the things I wanted to highlight, and I think you spoke to this, Kelly, is just the versatility of this set. So different ways that you can use it. So I'm a former class teacher. I spent some time in the pre-space. This set to support not only science, but the integrated approach around. It makes it's a really nice set to telling for story creation. I love the fact that the track will branch, so you could have students create some kind of a situation in a story, maybe where a character has to make a decision, and the outcome of that decision being one thing or another. It really allows for that collaborative storytelling, and helps students kind of really grasp those concepts of sequencing, and that sequencing not just in computer science, but in literature, with the beginning, middle, and ending of stories. It also is really great for math. You can give students constraints around the number of train track pieces they can use, or have them predict when they start the train how far it needs to go before it stops, and bring in some non-standard units of measurement, and things like that. It's just a fun set that I would have used not just in pre-K, but probably all the way up into first grade, just depending on what my learning outcomes were for my classroom. So there's my 2 cents worth, Kelly.
So appreciated. That was great. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we are about to run out of time. So if there are, ask for more questions. If we have anything, you can come off mute, or you can put it in the chat. Well, we really appreciate you joining us today, and we hope that you have learned something a little bit about computer science and playful learning. And I really hope that you are able to try this, to try Coding Express with your students. And as Leanna said, we're going to integrate it right in with that language arts and really see computer science, computational thinking grow, as well as the ELA, that language and vocabulary, and their ability to put things in sequence in their stories and make choices. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was such a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the conference.